evening. Of course, we're talking about the UAW strike. So that's the big three automakers. What's the likelihood? We're covering that tonight. We're also going to be covering what's the cost? What's the cost to us as buyers? And what's the cost to the automakers and the workers' union? This is all a big money question, whether this strike happens or not. I'm telling you, it's going to happen because the money is there. Everyone's got money. You know, you could call dealer inventory being built up. That means manufacturers, they can handle a strike right now. They've got vehicles that will continue to sell even if they're on strike. It all comes down to the dollars. Now the UAW also has money and they've got a lot of money. So we're going to get into those numbers tonight because it's going to be important. It's an important topic to cover. I was asked by a few of our members. So I'm going to be covering the likelihood of this strike. We're going to be covering the cost of this strike, and it is going to lead to a very important conclusion of whether you should buy right now or take the risk and wait. I'll say right off the start, I'd say waiting to buy in December, which is traditionally a really good time to buy, as everyone on YouTube says. But of course, your trade, if you've got a relatively valuable trade, your trade is at its lowest trade-in point in December, January, and February. Sometimes near the end of February, the trades, well, they always historically go up near the end of February, the trade-in values. That means you'll get more for your trade-in at the end of February, and there's actually still good rebates on the new. I'd say traditionally the best time of year to buy is February or March, but then your selection on the new vehicles is way down if you're trying to get one of those big rebates up from the last year's model vehicle. And it also often means that the interest rate is really high. Big rebate, low selection, but big interest rate. So good if you're paying cash. So when to buy really comes down to what type of buyer you are. And whether you get a good deal and save thousands really comes down to knowing your stuff. And that's what we cover right here. We're also going to be talking, of course, we're talking about buying vehicles. Well, tonight, why don't we do a build and price on a Ford Bronco, and if we also have time, do a build and price on a Ford Maverick, because you can still order a Ford Maverick. Then if there's also time for this live, don't want to go over the pregnant lady timer, but lovely wife here is pregnant.
The beauty rest.
She needs her beauty rest, but if we have time, we'll talk about the Mustang GTD, the F-150 Lobo, as well as that matte black, platinum, blacked out Lightning.
Wow.
And what are your chances of actually having your electric vehicle catch fire? Because there's a boat with electric vehicles on it that caught fire, and I don't want anyone getting fooled here. So we'll talk about the real deal here this evening. Let's put the pedal to the metal and get talking about this UAW strike. So episode 1, because we're going to break this up into little mini episodes later. If you don't watch the live, well, you'll miss certain parts. We cut out certain parts, but here's episode 1, the cost of the strike. Now we're talking about the 3 big automakers, US automakers. We're talking about Stellantis, we're talking about Ford, and we're talking about General Motors. And we're also going to be answering the question of, does the Ford Maverick get affected? Well, yes and no. Most vehicles built in Mexico will not be directly affected, but they're going to be indirectly affected. So you can still order up a Ford Maverick. So that's why that picture is up there. We're going to be talking about how you can still order a Ford Maverick. I'm going to prove it with some numbers. If you want the full video, we just put that out this past Saturday. So the last video, if you go to our channel, video list, hit the little video button, you'll have in chronological order our videos. Well, catch the last video talking about, if you can still get a Ford Maverick. Well, the answer is yes, and that's why we're going to be talking about that. Now, I also have the Ford Bronco here because, well, it's a popular model, and it's made in the U.S., it's made in Michigan, and it will be very much impacted by a strike. That means values on these could go back up. So I'd get one of those now. I truly believe the strike's going to be happening. We're going to be talking about numbers, all the details behind the strike, so you're informed. And your Chevrolet and GM products, well, guess what? If they're built in the U.S., they're going to be heavily impacted. Potentially, dealer inventory could go back down to near zero if the strike lasts as long as the money can handle it lasting. Because for the manufacturers to win, they've got to they've got to get the strike to last long enough that there's no strike money left. So that means 11 weeks or more of a strike in order to get the UAW to, well, you could say, fold. So that's going to be big. And Winston, of course, is licking me tonight. And we'll be talking about, GM, Chevrolet. So any of your Stellantis, Chevrolet, GM models that are made in the United States, they are going to be directly and heavily impacted by this strike. Inventories will go very, very low. And prices will naturally, there's going to be dealers asking over MSRP. So I'd say now is the right time to be shopping one of these models. Now, the Ford Maverick is going to be indirectly impacted because some of the parts and some of the supplies to produce these come from the US. So it's not the impact, it won't completely stop production of the Ford Maverick as it will for the Ford Bronco, many Chevrolet and GM trucks, certain certain Stellantis products, the ones that are still made in Canada or the US, are going to be affected. So this does affect 150,000 workers. So that's what's at stake right now. It's the livelihoods of 150,000 workers. They've gone ahead and they've made videos that they've released saying that these days you can't live well enough on the wages unless you work 6 days a week or 5 days a week, but 12 hours a day. So let's actually check over to some of the workers' demands so we understand fully the issue here. So we've got a little, Marie's in charge of the laptop tonight, but I'm a bit of a...
I need some help sometimes because I don't know which one you want.
Yeah, so we've got the UAW contract negotiations. This is what they're asking for. They're asking for double-digit pay increase. Now, of course, that can be hard to get on board and understand until we really put inflation into perspective. Inflation these days, the last couple of years, has been playing around 7% inflation. So if we go back to the 1990s, since 1990 to today, you have to make 2.3 times more than that salary in 1990 to be equivalent. And salaries in general have followed inflation, but housing has gone way above inflation. Roughly 30 times. It depends by region. Some regions it's by 25 times above inflation, other regions. But
but inflation, it's still crazy everywhere.
Yeah, the price of housing has gone up by roughly 30 to 35 times more. And that's actually going back to the 1960s. Sorry, from the 1990s, it's gone up many times more than that 2.3 inflation factor. Rent has gone up much more, and as we all know, we all feel it when we go to buy food. Food has gone up more. So they're asking for a double-digit pay increase because, well, they want to pay food, rent, and mortgages. Many of us still would like to live the American dream of owning our own home. For many people, that's their only source of really planning ahead for the future. It's their nest egg. It's their retirement. Selling their home is going to be what's going to fund their retirement. And that's becoming very much less and less accessible. So they also want to eliminate the two-tier wage system. It's become very common in the last 15 to 20 years to have, unionized employees, but then you can also have some non-unionized employees because they're only part-time and you're only hiring them for a short period of time, but that you give them little 1 or 2 year contracts, but you keep renewing their 1 or 2 year contract and they never quite get enough hours to fall into the union. Well, that's another way that, that's not fun. If you're in that situation, you are kept poor, you're kept out of home ownership, so your money's going into rent, meaning your rent is going off to some corporation and you're not building any generational wealth. You're not building any wealth to pass on to the next generation, and you're certainly not building towards your retirement. So it looks like they want to get rid of a two-tier wage system. I think I can understand almost any labor union should want to get rid of this, having non-unionized workers because you put them under a 1 or 2 year contract, and those people often are in disadvantageous situations for just general work conditions, safety conditions. They've got less protecting them. And I'm not pro-union or anti-union. I just like looking at things both perspectives, both sides of the coin. So they want better benefits, and they also are asking for a 32-hour work week. Very popular in Europe, asking for a 32-hour work week. Psychological studies seem to prove and show that people are more effective and get more done if they've got 32 hours to do it than 40. And I don't know why that is, other than the fact that maybe if you've got 32 hours, you figure, oh boy, I better, I've got good conditions, I better get the work that I need to get done. And when you work 40 hours, well, sometimes you're probably a little more tired and you waste a little more time because of brain fog. But anyways, that's just a personal side note. Now, if you want to just change up the slide, let's talk about the numbers, because the numbers is really where the proof in how likely this is to happen and for how long it's going to last. So Deutsche Bank estimates that a strike would actually cost each affected automaker roughly 400 million to 500 million per week of production. And it's close to $1 billion per company. Stellantis, Ford, GM, almost $1 billion per company for every 10 days they're on strike. So they've got profit here that is at risk. Now, you could say that these are significant costs and that these manufacturers want to do absolutely everything to avoid a strike, but then the demands are also going to be costing them a lot of money, and inventories at dealerships are actually very high. Stellantis has incredibly high. They're right under the 110-day mark. So Stellantis has a lot of dealer inventory, and GM has quite a bit of dealer inventory. Ford has a good amount of dealer inventory. That's sort of like a cushion. Vehicles are going to continue to be sold. It's going to continue working towards their overall number of vehicles sold per year. They've probably seen in the last 2 years that having lower inventory means that you can have less rebates, increased MSRP. Now, I think a lot of us are pretty strapped, where the prices of vehicles have really started to push some people out of the market. I think a lot of that is actually forced and intentional through carbon taxes when it comes to non-electric vehicles, petrol-powered vehicles, but that's a topic outside of this UAW strike talk. But the UAW, important to note, they actually have enough money in the bank to stop work for 11 weeks because they need to pay each of their roughly 150,000 employees $500 per week. Back in 2019, they increased it from $275. It's now $500 a week. So while you're on strike as a UAW worker, you get $500 a week fighting to try to get more for the future. And the fund, they've got 11 weeks worth. So the UAW can put everyone on strike and pay everyone for 11 weeks. Now, the new contract demands made by the United Auto Workers Union, well, it would add more than $80 billion to each of the biggest U.S. automakers' labor costs, and that means labor going up to roughly $150 an hour on average, according to Bloomberg. So that is the overall cost of what's being asked when you increase the salaries of 150,000 workers. Now, the UAW president, Fain, Mr. Fain, the president of the UAW, is calling the demands sort of the counter offer from the manufacturers an insult. He actually refused to open negotiations by shaking hands, which that's just a traditional start to negotiation discussions, refused to shake hands. And also, he took Stellantis's offer, the contract offer, and threw it in the trash. So things are starting off, I'd say some of that you could say, some people are going to say, well, that's just show. It's just part of trying to get a better offer. I really think that with this much money at play for manufacturers, they're going to need to go towards a strike. They're not going to want to be able to want to dish out $80 billion each in salaries. But then at the same time, the UAW has strike money. They got to spend that. They've got 11 weeks built up, and now is the time that they're negotiating, and they've got the strongest foothold that they're ever going to get, because the best argument you can have going into union negotiations is when your company has been making billions of dollars of profit, but also record-setting profits. So the big three have been making record history making numbers. These numbers are huge. They've never had numbers in regards to profitability like they have right now. So you don't want to be in negotiating, if you're the union president, you don't want to be in a situation where the company is having trouble is just barely surviving and is, near bankruptcy. That's not the time where you go in fighting really hard, asking for a lot more money. You have to do it when the times are good. So if the UAW is ever going to strike and ever have a chance of getting their demands met, it's right now. They're in the best position they'll ever be. Best position in the last 100 years, best position they'll be for the next 100 years, because really what happened in the last 3 years is part of this record-setting profit by all three. It's not that one is on, it's not as if one of the companies is near bankruptcy. They all had record profit years. So they've got the money, and they've got the argument of, hey, parent company, not parent company, hey, employer, you're making more money than you ever have. You can afford to pay us more. So now it's only fair that we ask that you share that profit, because our workers are having trouble making ends meet in this high inflation environment where, if you ask for just 7% of a wage increase, you're not actually asking for the same salary that you had a year ago by getting 7%, because housing, rent, and food cost so much more. They're going up by much higher numbers than inflation. And if we compare back to the 1960s, in the 1960s, inflation from 1960 to now has gone up by a factor of tenfold. It's gone up 10 times. But housing has gone up by roughly 30 to 35 times. Rent has gone up by 20 times. Food, off the top of my head, I don't have the exact number, but it's gone up by a multitude that's much higher than 10. So this is why these workers are asking for this. Now, whether you're for or against unions, you can share that in the comments, but I don't think that's, for us and what we're covering tonight, that's not really the emphasis and what's the main theme. The main theme is, what is it going to do to these vehicles? So we're getting to that in just a minute.
And that's sad, because dealership just started to have inventory, and now we will probably go back to what it was before. So
it's going to go down. So new prices could absolutely go up.
And for sure it will make a good impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll put pressure on the new vehicles, pushing prices up. Now, used vehicles, there's actually a good amount of inventory of used vehicles. They've been getting bought at auction for lower prices, but a lot of dealerships have not adjusted their prices and still have very high prices. Smart dealerships that want to roll the inventory quickly and prefer to make less money per vehicle, but a lot more volume, well, they've already adjusted their prices a fair amount. So I think in regards to right now, within the likelihood that inventory is going to go down, I'd say there's your big reason to, buy now. You've got 40 days. 40 days is the number of days that the UAW can go on strike, because they've got the money for that. So a 40-day strike, if we calculate out 11 weeks in days, that's more than 40 days. The last time there was a 40-day strike was actually in 2019. It was a strike against GM, and that, that was negotiations back to 2019 when there weren't record profits being set by GM. And that led to a production loss of 300,000 vehicles. And it cost the automaker $3.6 billion in earnings. So we'll have to see what happens there. But in 2019, it's important to note that while GM was on strike, 6,000 workers in Mexico were laid off. So yes, this could definitely affect the Ford Maverick production, which could affect and will affect the numbers that I gave out. I kind of in the last video, you'll want to catch it. I gave out all the numbers into why you can still get a Maverick. Well, that's going to depend. That all gets skewed if there is a strike that lasts 11 weeks. So 11 weeks, what are we talking about? 3 months? Just about 3 months?
Around that, yeah.
I wouldn't expect it to last 3 months because I'd expect one side or another to give in before then. But the idea that the strike will last only a week, which is pretty common across the YouTube world, and even big news corporations, big media, I highly doubt that this will last just 1 week. In 2019, GM went on strike for 40 days. And the manufacturer, GM, was willing to lose $3.6 billion. Now, with record profits being made and with Ford losing all sorts of money on electric vehicles anyways, Ford already put it in their books to lose, roughly, it's going to end up costing them roughly $5 billion, $4 or $5 billion this year by selling electric vehicles. Well, if they're making less electric vehicles, it's no sweat off their back. If they're making 0 electric vehicles for 2 months, that doesn't hurt them at all. That's actually profitable because they lose money every time they sell one of these. Now, of course, the losing money is because they're, in advance, heavily subtracting from profits of electric vehicles the cost of modifying the factories, adding on to the factories, changing around machinery, the expansions, the complete new factory, the Blue Oval City. So that's all going into that, loss per vehicle calculation. And Ford's calculating that they lose $32,000 per electric vehicle sold. But they're making a lot of money when it comes to the petrol vehicles, and that's true for Ford, Stellantis, and GM. So the manufacturers are also in a good position to be on strike and get what they feel is fair. And the UAW is in an excellent position to be on strike. So the manufacturers have a lot of inventory sitting around, and too much inventory hurts profits. And that's why GM several times this year has actually stopped truck production for short periods of time because they want to keep inventory low. And at Toyota will not be affected by this strike, but let's use Toyota as an example. Toyota seems to be very happy with having low production because when their dealers have next to no vehicles in inventory, it creates this feeling of scarcity, rarity, and quality. Like, everyone wants a Toyota product. There's none on the lots.
Yeah,
oh my goodness,
can have it,
there's one available. Oh boy, I better jump on it. Everyone wants this Toyota. So it creates this craze.
Psychology work.
It's crazy psychology, but the manufacturers have some smart people working for them, and that they know this sells. Low inventory sells vehicles. Low inventory makes for high profits. So as much as they're going to lose money, the calculated, and we have a slide for that, for how much they're going to lose.
That one?
Yes, it is. So here we've got this from Forbes. Love Forbes. And look at that right there. Those are the numbers. Ford is slated for 10 days of strike to lose 931 million, GM to lose 916 million, and Stellantis to lose 739 million.
That's a lot.
Yep. And then the dealer and consumer impacts, because this is going to affect the economy. Ford, $559 million loss per 10 days. That's the impact to, the dealer and consumer impact. So the cost to dealerships, but also to side businesses that make parts that are going to be impacted because, some companies will make parts for one of these major manufacturers. And, sometimes only 10% of their production goes towards one of these automakers, and sometimes it's 70% or 80% of their production. So that's Forbes is saying that further consumer and dealer losses amounting to approximately 2.1 billion for the big three for a 10-day strike against a single manufacturer. So if this lasts 1 month, let's say, I'd say it probably lasts between 4 to 8 weeks. Well, you're looking at billions of dollars lost to the economy. But the thing is that the manufacturers, when we look at the manufacturer losses, Ford losing 931 million, GM 916, Stellantis 739 million for every 10-day period. That doesn't incorporate and it doesn't calculate the fact that this low inventory could actually lead to removing the current rebates that are on a lot of these vehicles. It could lead to being able to increase the interest rate on a lot of these vehicles. So I don't think the manufacturers are actually going to lose that kind of money. They'll lose it in the first 30 days, but after 30 days, when inventories are much lower, they're going to wipe away rebates. Interest rates will go up, one or the other. For a company, let's say Stellantis is currently offering 15% discount on a Ram or 10% discount on a Ram. Well, maybe the interest rate will stay the same, but a $10,000 rebate will be gone. So it's not going to cost them that kind of money. So that's why I think this strike could actually last 8 weeks. And then at a certain point, the strike only lasting 1 or 2 weeks won't have any positive impact on inventory, and therefore won't allow them to remove rebates because of scarcity or increase interest rates. So I'd say the worst thing that could happen for these manufacturers is a 1 or 2 week strike. It's either no strike or a long strike. And everyone in the media and most of YouTube is saying, oh, this is going to be a 10-day strike. It's going to be a 1 week strike. That's BS. I'm going to BS bust that. That's complete bull crap. I'm going to be a bull on this topic and say this strike is either not happening. I'd say there's maybe a 5% chance that this strike doesn't happen. And I'd say there's a 95% chance that this strike happens. And it'd be very wise for manufacturers, if it does happen, to have it last a long time. Because that's if all three go on strike. If only one, if only GM workers go on strike or only Stellantis workers go on strike, it's not the same. Then the strike could be very short. But if all three go on strike, well, that's all your truck production, pretty much all your truck sales. So month 1, when inventories are coming down, but after 30 days, there's not much left, but there's still some left, rebates are going to be gone. And remember, people have gotten used to ordering vehicles. So whereas it might hurt them on the books, in the short term, if they produce orders, but orders with 0 rebates and orders with higher interest rates, it's not going to hurt them as bad as what the media, it's not going to hurt the manufacturers as bad as the media is calculating this down. Forbes, they're fantastic with numbers, but they're using numbers that are sort of, you could say, direct, not forecast numbers based on, I'm an insider. I know how rebates work. I know how interest rates work. I was never a fan of the employee price unless you're a cash buyer, because every June you had a better interest rate and less rebate. And then employee price would come out, huge rebate, much higher interest rate, and often people it would cost more per month.
But the only thing I wonder, if it lasts long, the strike, yes, we'll lose rebate. People are already, how can I say that, habitué? What is it in English?
Used to.
Thank you. They are used to order, like you said, but it's not all the manufacturer will be in strike. So what will happen with the competition? If they sold over MSRP, go on orders, and finally, for example, Toyota, Subaru, and Honda, they had inventory, it could hurt.
They're going to sell more, but when it comes to trucks, which is the big moneymaker for all of these three, they're not going to lose that much business. If you're a Ram truck guy, you're a Ram truck guy. If you're a GM truck guy, you're a GM truck guy. And if you're a Ford truck guy, if there's nothing left, you're just going to order it up. So really, buy right now. Buy before this strike hits. And if I am wrong and there's no strike, well, guess what? trades, then inventory stays high. Both new and used inventory is high. We've got almost record high inventory on the used side right now. On the new inventory, we're not that far off our record highs of new inventory. We're maybe down 25%. It's not in the trucks. It's, we're overall down on inventory because we don't have enough Ford Mavericks coming in. We don't have enough Ford Escapes. We have no Ford Escapes available right now. Zero inventory on Ford Escapes. Those things come in, and if it's available, it's a customer's order. But if it ends up being canceled and becomes inventory, that thing's sold within 2 days. A Ford Maverick, if it gets canceled by someone who doesn't realize the potential of just reselling it and making money, but if they cancel it, that thing's getting sold within a day or two. If it's sold within an hour when it's MSRP. It's always at MSRP, so it's sold within an hour. Generally, we end up flipping them to become courtesy vehicles and demonstrators so that people can actually test drive the Ford Maverick. Crazy idea, but we did it with the Ford Bronco. All orders at MSRP, Mavericks, all orders at MSRP, and people actually get to test drive them. Thank you so much, M. Peugeot, for the thumbs up. Yes, it would be great if people hit that thumbs up because it will actually get this information out. And I'm convinced that I'm 95% chances I'm very right about this. It'd be wildly bad for manufacturers to lose 2 weeks or 3 weeks of production. They won't gain anything from it. And if it ends early, when the UAW still has a whole lot of money to spend on a strike, it means they'll have caved. It'll have cost them a lot of money giving in to the demands. Well, if you're going to give in to the demands in 2-3 weeks anyways, or try to get a slightly better negotiation, just avoid the strike altogether. Just get close to what the UAW wants and avoid the strike altogether. This is either no strike or a very long strike, or if it ends up being a 2-week strike, I'll be blown away by the fact that Ford, GM, and Stellantis didn't realize that a 2-week strike is kind of more costly in certain aspects than a much longer strike. Because in a much longer strike, the UAW eventually runs out of money, and they have to give in. They've got 11 weeks worth. On the 12th week, people aren't getting paid. That strike line isn't going to last when people can't afford any food. So it could theoretically last more than 11 weeks, but not by much. And there's also the fact that $500 a week is much less money than these workers are used to getting. So after a while, when the credit cards get maxed out, they're going to start chiming in to go back to work. But right now, they have voted, and as 96 or 97% of the workers voted in favor of a strike. Now, that doesn't mean the strike's happening. All the other reasons that I've mentioned, those are your reasons why the strike is definitely happening. 95% chance. But it means that almost all the workers are in favor of going on strike. And I can understand the cost of living is too high. Getting a 7% raise, some companies top out. 3% raise is it's written on paper. That's the most that they can give out. That's horrible because you're losing a lot of money. You need at least 7% to match inflation, but that doesn't match the cost of living. As workers, we have a lot to gain back if we want the quality of life that we had back in the 1960s. In the 1960s, only one person had to work in the household, and with one person working a decent job, 2 vehicles could be in the yard, a cottage, a house, and the kids all went off to school, which costs a much higher factor. Inflation since the 1960s gone up 10 times, while education's gone up by a lot more than that. So every aspect of the cost of living has gone up by so much more. So I have to say, I feel for the workers in this situation, and it affects us all. We're all in a bad position because of the cost of living, everything outside of inflation. We can't complain. Our wages have gone up by inflation. That's not the argument to be made. It's not to say, well, we want to match inflation. We have matched inflation from the 1990s and compared to the 70s and compared to 1960. However, the big one is the cost of living. So we've got Did they have running water in Canada in the 1960s? Well, certain places in Canada still don't have what you could call running water, but that's if you go way up north. And you don't necessarily want to be drinking the water that the city gives you anyways, because it's filled with chemicals, and it's also filled with birth control, and it's in low quantities. But
Like
I don't
the
feel
little
like
fishies.
I don't feel like taking birth control, and I don't feel like having my if you eat a lot of processed food, you look at people that eat a lot of processed food, and it's a shame that 90% of what the grocery store sells is toxic. And the non-toxic things, the fruits and vegetables and the meat, well, they haven't been able to poison our meat yet, but the fruits and vegetables are sprayed with, what's that?
Don't start on any rant now.
All right, pesticides.
Pesticides.
Yeah, apparently we want to save the world, and we're going towards the end of the world, so we have to get rid of petrol vehicles. But somehow there's like little to no effort being made to replace all the two-stroke engines in the world, that horrible polluters. You'll run a two-stroke engine for, an hour, and it's worth a half year of driving your gasoline-powered car, but it's just a little two-stroke weed whacker. We're not sending money over to third world countries to buy out their two-stroke motorcycles and then give them little electric scooters instead as free little presents in exchange. Apparently we have money to buy out people's guns. People can be forced to sell their guns here in Canada. So the government forces you. They say you have to take this money, otherwise you're a criminal. And now we're buying back your gun. But what efforts are being made to buy back two-stroke engines from Canadians or from third world countries? Which third world countries, that's the problem with actual pollution. And countries like Canada, well, even though we pollute, we also have an environment that sucks up all that carbon and uses that carbon. And we're probably already at net zero. Technically, if we're actually to count in what our environment absorbs in CO2 versus what we produce in CO2, like Australia, we're two countries that are very easily, we're not just net zero, we're creating more oxygen, we're sucking up more CO2 than we're creating. So if there actually was a severe pollution problem, you'd think better efforts, smarter efforts would be made. So I either have to accept that worldwide, it's a complete idiots running and that are trying to save us from the end of the world. As they say, the end of the world is coming, the world is ending, but the actual efforts are completely idiotic if that is actually the case. And I don't believe that the people running the world are stupid. I think they're very intelligent, and I think that we're losing a lot of freedoms in exchange for something that isn't nearly. The problem isn't pollution here. The problem is pollution in third world countries, and we're not buying out two-stroke engines. So that was actually my rant. You can cut that out.
You made the
so
rant.
I'm very happy. I feel I ate steak tonight, and that's my way to be a real rebel in today's society. Today's punk rocker is actually a Christian that eats steaks. You want to be a true rebel against society? The society these days has become so incredibly extreme left and extreme wokeness. Freedom of speech is being taken away. Freedom of movement will be taken away. They're trying to take away our vehicles slowly. So to be a true rebel, eat steak and be a Christian. It's the most, and have children. There you go. Increase the world, have children, and give them a proper education. Then you're a real rebel. So we'll cut that out of the little mini episodes.
Yeah,
these rants are just for, it's done. I'll behave now. I'll behave.
Yeah, because I have a good question for you.
Yes.
Mike Davison wants to know, will the strike affect the price if I already ordered my Maverick and accept by Ford? Will it change the price?
It's yes and no. If you ordered from a dealer and you didn't, if you don't have a signed offer, either a purchase offer or a lease offer, or you don't at least have them signing your build sheet saying that they're going to sell at that listed price, then yeah, your dealer could try some funny business, and they could try to put you down under the new deal. So the new MSRP, the new lack of rebates. So it depends on the model. For the Maverick, well, for there to be a difference, the MSRP would have to go up. If it has already gone up based from when you ordered, well, it gives them an easy way to just charge you the new MSRP and not go back and give you, it's not price, well, within the year it is price protection. When it's a carryover from one year to another, it's not price protection, it's a special rebate. So if we want to just change the photo up, I'd love it if you could either comment in the live, or if you're not in the live, throw down a comment. I'm curious, what do you all think about the strike? Now, do you think that the strike's going to happen? How many days do you think the strike's going to, I want to see how many people I've convinced here. Maybe people already had the same opinion as me from before this show went on. And that would be great. But I really want to know, and if the dog could stop licking me, that would be great. I want to know, do you think the strike's going to last only 1 week? Or is this definitely a situation that's going to last more than 1 week? Will there be a strike? And, how long do you think it's really? I really want to know. Put a precise number down. Let's see how long the strike's going to last, in your opinion. And here's a big one. Is this, if you're holding shares right now of any of these companies, is this a sell opportunity? I think right now it's a big sell now opportunity. And day one of the strike, between day 1 and day 5 of the strike, it's maybe max, maybe day 30 of the strike. But sometime in the strike, when you think these stocks have really bottomed out, it's going to be a buy opportunity. Because I think when they actually declare their profits for the year, I think the profits are still going to be half decent. I think people are going to think this is the end for these companies, and the stock market is going to react like these companies could go bankrupt from this strike. And in the end, I don't think it's going to cost them that much if the strike is long enough, because, well, they can pull back those rebates. Ford right now is paying to offer people good interest rates, low interest rates. F-150, low interest rate. That's bought. That's a bought and paid for interest rate. It costs thousands of dollars per vehicle. Thankfully, they're not just dropping the price by $10,000 and keeping the interest rate what it actually would normally be, a non-subvention, a non-rebate interest rate. If they drop the price by 10 grand but have standard interest rate of 8 or 9%, well, then all your trade values die off in value. So, top comment, if you really want to risk it, like we're risking it, I'd say let us know, do you think this is a time to buy now a new vehicle, or is it going to be better to buy after the strike? So I'd love to know what you think.
That's a good question.
Marie, what do you think? You think if you're buying a vehicle, would you wait until after the strike or during the strike, because you think the prices will be better during the strike or after the strike, or right now?
You know what? Because you know me, I love to know that I have something that's in inventory. You want to make sure you have it, because if you need a car right now, you cannot just try to order and hope you will have it soon. So with the strike, it's not the option if you need a car in the next three months, maybe.
Yeah.
So I would go with right now. After that, we don't know what will happen, and it could go in every direction.
I think naturally prices could be rebated come December. So most YouTubers will say December is the best time to buy. End of the year, last week, right before the year switch over. But I think the strike's going to happen. I think inventories will be low. I know every winter trade-in values drop tremendously. So I'd say very much 100% buy right now, buy now, or buy September. Inventory will start going down mid-October. Yeah, if inventory's low to zero, your trade could actually be worth more than it seasonally would be. But your trade already is worth more than it seasonally would be. So I'd say the fact that interest rates on all these models could go up 2 or 3%, that the rebates could completely dry up, I think we're in a position to potentially lose, $10,000 worth of discounted value on the new to maybe gain, a few $1,000s on the trade. And that's a maybe, because the trades could still, there has to be no more new vehicles on lots and people not willing to order their vehicle and then also be willing to buy a used vehicle at 10 to 13% interest rate instead, so that those used vehicle inventories can go down. And used inventory going down is what causes your trade-in value to go up. I think there'd have to be an unbelievably long, an extremely long strike for that to happen. And I don't think anyone thinks the strike's going to last, a year or 6 months. So yeah, definitely buy now. 100% buy now. As I'm being harassed by Winston, I'd say harass a dealer, but a good dealer to buy now. Like Winston's harassing me by trying to kiss my arm. So that's the news. That's the big news. I think this is so important because it is going to affect vehicles. Maverick production won't necessarily stop, but it will definitely slow down. And that could mean that my last episode, I could end up being completely wrong because all my numbers were based on the idea that Ford would build about 109,000 Mavericks. So let's do episode 2. Let's put the pedal.
Just before, a quick question.
Let's not put the pedal to the metal.
That's a good one. Craig Craigster, I didn't forget you. I was just keeping you for the end of this episode. So he said, I've been offered an XLT hybrid Lux with the 360 package.
Cool pilot.
Moonroof at MSRP.
Oh, yeah.
The original buyer wants a cash bonus of $2,000 to sign it over to me. Can they do this without getting in trouble?
Okay. Well, they can't just... The only way they can sign you over the vehicle is if they buy it or lease it in their name first, and then they sell it to you.
Needs to be at their name first.
Yeah, and then you're going to pay used vehicle interest rates. And that would be horrible because you're not just going to pay them the extra $2,000, which isn't that bad, actually. You're going to end up paying, though, thousands and thousands of dollars in added interest. So I wouldn't touch that. It's the dealer. Once they cancel, it's the dealer that decides who they sell to and how much they sell to. Because when they cancel their order, it becomes dealer inventory. They can't pass on the privilege of the price. So I'd say you need to know that. You need to know that you're not going to be able to, they'll need to buy it first for that to work. Otherwise, it doesn't work at all. So yeah, we got GTP, Grand Theft Poodle. The squirrels are trying to hijack the show. They're not just trying to hijack the show, they're trying to hijack me. They're treating me like, I don't know.
A big popsicle.
That doesn't sound. Yeah, my arm is a popsicle. They're licking my arm, folks. That's what's going on under the camera here. The arm. See a little bit of. See, little Lily's right there, and she's doing that now. Okay, so let's get on to the next episode. Put the pedal to the metal. Love the fact that you're all here for the live because I like to hang out with you. I like to see the comments go by. I like to try to catch up on what's going on with as many of you in your lives as possible. Now, of course, if you want to make sure I actually get to see it, you just, once the show's over, you just drop in a comment, give us an update. We want to know what's going on. And I think it's great if as a community, we share info so that we can all be more knowledgeable. I'll never have all the right answers. I'll never have all the information, nor will I have the time to cover all the information. So when you guys share your information in the comments, that's just great. I love it. Episode 2.
Yeah.
Ford Maverick, you can get one if you order now, and you will get one. As long as there's no UAW strike, I can pretty much guarantee you'll get your Ford Maverick even if you order that highly sought after Ford Maverick Hybrid. Very sought after. And let's go to the constraints list to look at some percentages. So we've got this here on the back screen. I'll blow it up. Get this thing blown up. You see the 2024 model year Maverick restrictions summary. You've got your key commodities in there, and you've got the hybrid saying U.S. capacities. What U.S. capacities are is what Ford can build. Retail USOB is what people are asking for. So what we've got is we've got 55% capacity, 68% retail. Now that would look like 13% of people, and it's actually not 13% of people, but there's a discrepancy by 13%. So depending how you see that 13%, either way, it means there's a bunch of people, a whole lot of people not getting a hybrid based on, let's see this, how many people have already ordered? You've got 52,941 US orders. And I can say that there's about another 10% of that, which is going to be Canadian. So, and then of course there's carryover. So let's say we round it out to a nice even 60,000 orders pretty much currently in the system. That means, and there's probably a little more by now because that was on the 18th of August. So there's between 60 to max 65,000 Mavericks in the system. But here's the thing. If Ford can continue to build them as they've been building them, they'd be able to build 109,978 2024 Ford Mavericks. Because in January 23, they built, and this is EcoBoost and hybrid together, 8,694. February, 7,143. March, 9,649. April, 7,263. May, 11,061. June, 10,133. And July,
10,211. So it's
how much is that total?
64,154.
So over 12 months, you average that out, and you've got 109,978 Mavericks that could be built at current pace. And this isn't year one of the Maverick production. It's year, it's from the 23 production. So I think that's likely going to continue unless it could be higher if they drop numbers down on the Bronco Sport, but they're making more money with the Bronco Sport. So why would they do that? Bronco Sports, they're making more money on them. They're still selling. There's not crazy high inventory on these Bronco Sports. So unless Bronco Sports magically stop selling and people don't want them anymore, then we're going to continue to see numbers that are around there. Maybe they'll make 120,000 of them. But either way, even if we go with, the numbers we already have and they make exactly those numbers. Well, if production remains stable, if there's no UAW strike, then all ordered hybrids will get built. Because, well, hybrid, they can build 55%. And 55% capacity of 109,978. Retail does want 68%. But when you take that 55% of 109,978, you end up with 74,785 hybrids. And currently, if we take 68% of the, we work it off 52,000, but let's say we were to work that off 60,000. I'd like to take out my calculator and actually calculate that out. But in my notes, the number I was actually using meant that there was roughly 37,400 hybrid orders in the system. So let's actually do it off the new number because I hadn't calculated Canadian orders or orders that may have occurred after the 18th of August, but most people stopped trying because they figured it was sold out. But let's see here. If we've got 60,000 orders and, 68% of them are hybrids, we've got 40,800 hybrids in the system. There's still room because there's absolutely still room. There's roughly 34,000 more hybrids that can be ordered. There's a lot of space for hybrids left. So put in a hybrid, it will get built unless workers at the Mexican plant that, for the Maverick, unless they get laid off for 2 months because they just can't build anymore because there's no built up, you could say, inventory of parts and supplies. That is actually a factor that I don't know. And if you want to write into the show, because if you're watching and you work at the Mexican plant and you know that there's a lot of additional supply, please let us know. Write in, throw it in the comments, or write to Johnny's Car Care and Reviews at gmail.com. So that's your big one. That's, I think, pretty big news. So why don't we show a few pictures of the Maverick. I think the Maverick is really important and deserves all the attention that I've given it because it's fighting inflation. It's a really affordable truck. So trucks can help you make money. They can help you save money because you're not getting things delivered all the time. So trucks can save you money, make you money. And this truck is almost half the price of an equally built F-150. So I want to applaud someone who did something pretty cool here. They put it on Maverick Truck Club. And I think
that's a nice modification.
that's really nice right there. You've got, it's an FX, got black appearance package. So the mag's looking really sharp. They put on a hood deflector on the front here. Now with your black appearance package, you got the blacked out grille, you got the blacked out lights. It looks amazing. The hood deflector was a nice touch. And with all that black, usually don't like this bushwhacker style here, these added flares. I think that's great. A little bit more of maybe a BF Goodrich KO2 tire I'd throw on for a little added love and a little added look. BF Goodrich, send me a set of new tires for my Lightning for free. I'm not sponsored. I am not assisted by any companies at all, but I
would love that.
But would love those tires because right now the Lightning is just chewing through the front tires at an incredible and accelerated
you had the
rate.
Lightning on January this year. Yeah.
Lettering like we threw on your Maverick. Yeah, January this year, February 6th was the Lightning.
8 months after, the tires are almost dead.
Yeah, so we see here, this is from Jake Will. He threw this on at Maverick Truck Club. So thank you for throwing it to them. If you guys want to send me photos on Johnny's Car Care and reviews at gmail.com, and that's Johnny with a 1N. That never seems to happen anywhere else except for the email. Well, we'll try to get them on the channel's Instagram and Facebook. Now, I'm wondering if there's talk in the chat about Kia engines catching fire. Is there a Santa Cruz Fire Edition?
No, he said Hyundai just released an off-road version of the Santa Cruz.
Well, that's comical. That's comical.
He says it's just a few minor aesthetic upgrades.
I had a feeling it'd be comical, and yeah, that's comical. Just doing some
more
aesthetics.
triangle, I would say, if it's aesthetic.
Off-road triangles. So yeah, it's a double triangle for added safety. Now I'll let you get back to changing up the photos.
Yeah, I'll try that.
So let's actually take it to the internet. Let's go to the interwebs and check out a build and price. Because our episode is concluded. We're going into episode 3. Lily, why don't you go not play on ground? That is the one that I want. So episode 3, let's talk 2024 Ford Maverick build and price. This is a vehicle you can actually get. You can still order it. And you know what? You have to order it. Don't be stubborn on this one. This is an inflation fighter. This is the best vehicle you're going to get for the buck. Extremely fuel efficient. Even if you get the EcoBoost, very fuel efficient. It's a truck, so it can make you money. It can save you money because you can transport things for people and get paid, or you can transport your own stuff. You can do home rentals with this. Heck, with the back tailgate opened at 45 degrees, you can put 4x8 wood, plywood sheets, or drywall up to 350 pounds. So you can save a lot of money. You can work this truck properly. Now there's a bit of trouble underneath the table because the dogs, they'd love to have poodle wrestling. They're fighting for who gets a Maverick, and you need to fight to get a Maverick as well because you need to order this. Please don't wait for one of these to be available at a lot. A dealer will ask thousands of dollars more. Used Ford Mavericks are selling for 5, 6, 10. If it's a hybrid, 10,000 over original MSRP. If it's, let's say, a 23, it's about 7,000 over MSRP Canadian, so 5,000 US dollars if it's a 2022 with a whole bunch of mileage. So this is the vehicle to get. And I'll tell you why this is a vehicle to get. It's because it comes actually really well equipped. So I'm going to open up here. I've got the major product features. I want to cover a bit of your order guide because the Ford Maverick comes standard with Copilot 360. So you've got blind spot detection on this vehicle. It's got great safety features, blind spot detection. You've got auto high beams. So that means your lights, night and day, aren't just automatic. On top of that, your night lights, so that's your, when you're driving at night, your high beams and your low beams go on and off automatically. That's standard. You've got standard on the XLT, a parameter alarm security system. But you also have an anti-theft even on the XL version. So I'm just gonna, if you wanna actually take us to that, we'll throw it on right here. Then we'll actually start building what we think is the best version. So before you actually order up one of these, I think it's great if you can find an order guide, go through it. Learn what comes standard so you don't overbuy. But if you only have access to the build and price, also show you some tricks so that you don't get fooled and buy way more vehicle and spend thousands of dollars more. Now the XL production, there's a lot of demand for the XL. Production's a little lower, so expect a longer wait. But let's go through what this vehicle now comes with. So it comes standard with a 2-liter EcoBoost engine that's connected to not a CVT, as is the standard across all the manufacturers. They all want to go to CVT, or already have CVT transmissions, because those are either a strap or a metallic belt, a chain. And these things with time will get strained and could very well snap. They're not the most reliable. And the EcoBoost is running off an 8-speed mechanical transmission. Now that thing is tough. And the motor is tough too. It's not on its first generation. A few little kinks got worked out. And the 2-liter turbo is a great, powerful engine. 250 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque. I've driven them often. Very beefy, a lot of fun to drive. This vehicle handles the corners fantastically. Great handling, very comfortable seat. We've got, Ridgeview, one of our channel's moderators. He has done some very long driving. He's driven from the northern states all the way down to Florida, and he's also driven from the East Coast, Northeast Coast, down to Kansas a couple times.
Yeah, so we tested it more than once.
He tested it more than once. He's tested that thing like we've tested the Ford Bronco. And he says it is very comfortable for those long journeys. Now, the 2.5 liter is now optional. That means optional means you're going to pay for it. Standard means you're not paying for it. So optional means you're going to pay. We'll talk about the additional costs in just a moment. But don't get fooled. It says right here, automatic, continuously variable transmission. It's not a CVT, it's an eCVT, very much like what Toyota's using in the Prius. That means that it's a planetary gear set. One big gear, mechanical, metallic, with teeth. You've got other little gears helping it do its magic. And it is magic because you're getting the fuel efficiency of a CVT without the very poor reliability of a CVT. It's not the cheapest option. Toyota and Ford spend money giving us a high quality transmission, but CVTs are manufacturers' ways of, when they're belt driven, whether it's a rubber belt or a metallic chain, pure CVT, not an eCVT, but a CVT, is how manufacturers are ripping us off. They're giving us a subpar transmission, hoping it only breaks after the warranty is over. But sometimes they don't even make it that long. These things are horrible for towing. Not the case for the Ford Maverick, whether you go with the 2-liter or the hybrid engine. Now, it's important to go through what your standard equipment is. So you go to, you skip over major product changes. Page 1, that's for people that have memorized everything from the 2023. If you go off to page 2, you've got the XL series standard equipment, and you're gonna want to go through this because that's what's going to let you know what the vehicle comes standard with. So maybe you don't need to spend any extra money and you can save thousands because you actually like what's in the vehicle. Now, someone wrote about the Rogue CVT. Yuck. Yes, that is the worst. The Rogue has the worst CVT.
Yeah, the Nissan one.
But Nissan, you save money up front, but you spend money later on if you keep the vehicle too long. But you'll lose it. In most cases, most of their vehicles have poor resale. Winston, it would be great if you could join the show instead of causing trouble.
They have a lot of energy tonight, the poodles.
Yeah, and you're rubbing your belly, so I think the babies has some energy tonight too from this, from what it seems like.
A little bit of kicking.
So all Mavericks come with an electric parking brake. They all come, sorry, the hybrid comes with an electric brake booster. And that reminds me, turbos, traditionally, when you had your foot on the gas, it would, use vacuum. And then if you immediately stomped on the brakes, you had very poor brakes. I have that with the problem with the Toyota MR2. That's not the problem with the Ford Maverick. I tested it. So you aren't going to lose, half or more of your braking capability because you're just on the gas and then you need to hit the brake pedal. There's post-impact braking. If you have an accident with any of the Ford Mavericks, as soon as there's a collision, a contact, the vehicle's going to apply the brakes. So you won't hit something and then just keep barreling down the road and off a cliff. You've got electronic power assist steering on both vehicles. That means the ratio between the wheels in the front and the steering wheel adapt to your speed. And it also means that there's no solid column from the steering wheel going all the way to the wheels. So that's one less part that can break. It helps save weight and it also helps with fuel economy. So this vehicle's price is inexpensive, but it's not cheaply made. They didn't go with a cheap CVT. They didn't go with, a cheap old school drive shaft, kind of like a driving shaft. It's not the correct term, but a driving shaft between the steering wheel and the wheels themselves. This is originally filmed live, so when I don't have the right word for it, I can't just easily edit it out. So yeah, you've got that variable assist power steering. All models get an 8-inch touchscreen, and let's check this out in photos. If you want to go check out our photos list and get a picture of the 8-inch touchscreen as well as the interiors, because if you go with XL, you're going to get a black standard XL Maverick. You get a black interior, an XLT, and that's someone's that's an important interior to show. So they all have this touchscreen. It's an 8-inch. It doesn't have wireless Android Auto or wireless Apple CarPlay, even for 2024, but it is touchscreen. If you plug it in, your GPS from your phone will transfer over, as well as some of your apps. And if you go with a Lariat black appearance package, you get black leather. But if you just want a black interior and save thousands of dollars, you can just go with an XL. Cloth, black, that's what you're going to get. Standard XLT, you're going to get a blue and gray interior. So if you want to pull that photo up and get us the XLT interior, the nice interior like you had, we really liked that cloth. We found it, for the time we had it, it was durable. So we'll just slide down right here and try to get those photos. So Marie's new to controlling the laptop. So
was not in the same the good order.
So the XLT, some people love it, some people hate it. A lot of people have complained about these orange accents, but once we owned it, we actually liked the orange accents.
Yeah, that's not what's
looks better
bothering me. It's more like the plastic in the door here. That looks like a bottle of water.
Yeah, you've said before that it reminds you of like a 1980s cooler.
It's not the orange that bothers me.
But the seats are fantastic. The seats are really comfortable. The material is
that's beautiful.
Fantastic. Now, if you want to just get back to the order guide, I'm going to cover a few things before we just start building what would be our 2024 Ford Maverick ideal build and why. So we really love the fact that every Maverick has that blind spot detection and the auto high beams. And sometimes when you're going through the order guide, it can be tough. It says Copilot 360 and you say, what is Copilot 360? Well, you can actually continue to read. You'll end up getting the answer. For now, I just want to say that you've got 2 USB ports on every single Maverick, and that's Type A and Type C.
That's practical.
They all have electronic stability control. They're all going to drive well in the snow. Ford has, either if it's a hybrid, it's intelligent front wheel drive up to 16 times per second. The vehicle can decide to send a different amount of power to each wheel. It's actually a very effective system at keeping the vehicle in a straight line. If it's the all-wheel drive, well, it does that, but for all 4 wheels. And this system, originally Ford had a very archaic 4x4 system, and this system was actually developed by, borrowing upon Volvo technology. as well as Land Rover technology, because Ford used to own those companies and they really upgraded their 4x4 systems because of these companies. Now, all Mavericks will have behind the steering wheel a 4.2-inch information screen. If you go with an XLT FX4 package, you get the 6.5-inch screen behind the steering wheel, like on the Lariat. So that can be a good little money-saving tip. They'll all come with rear view camera. They're all going to come with dynamic brake support. And what does that mean? It means the vehicle can prep the brakes for you and even brake for you at the last minute. It might not save you from an accident, but you'll certainly hit, things or people at a slower speed, because it does have pedestrian detection and forward collision warning. And of course, automated emergency braking. So those are all fantastic security features, making the XL a steal of a deal, because if we go back 15 years into the past, you're buying what would now be, a $200,000 Mercedes-Benz to have that kind of technology. If we go back, and I say 15 years, but I'm not coming along with the times fast enough. I'd say probably more around 20 years ago, a top of the line Mercedes or Porsche, the very highest level ones, would have that kind of, and I shouldn't say Porsche because 911s, stayed away from touch screens. Mercedes and BMW jumped on them first with their luxury vehicles. Now, of course, they all have these vehicles are very safe in the case of an accident. You've got your front and rear bumpers being made of steel. You're not going to actually see that because there's plastic covering over them, but beneath there's steel. They're going to help you in the case of an accident. Now remember, these are unibody vehicles, so it's not a fully boxed in frame system like the Ford Ranger. So excuse me. So it means that if someone does hit you very hard on the side of the vehicle, if the whole vehicle twists, well, your flooring is your framing, so they can get scrapped. But these vehicles are safe if you do get into an accident. Now, why would we want to go and get an XLT? So we got an XLT. Now, that's a big list. I'm not going to read everything out because we could talk about this for an hour.
It's the XL.
But we're still in the XL. Now, and this is where you slide down on the order guide. You can go down and look, Ford Copilot 360. And they're going to tell you everything that the Ford Copilot 360 offers. I do want to add that not only is there blind spot detection, meaning a little light goes on in the side view mirrors, it's not annoying. We test drove the Santa Cruz and it was noisy when someone was in our blind spot. It cut down, if I recall correctly, it cut down the radio volume a little bit and it actually made a noise. Mm-hmm. Ford's just going to light up the light. It's not an annoying nuisance. Mm-hmm. And it's got cross traffic alert, meaning if you're backing up and you don't see what's coming and someone's going to hit you, it will save you. And I hate to tell you this, but either our Lightning, I can't remember if I was backing up the Lightning. No, I was backing up the Bronco, so that would have hurt our feelings a lot more. I almost got driven into with the Bronco, but thankfully the vehicle warned me. And I'm not proud, but while backing up the Lightning, going in my lunch break to work out at the gym, I was backing up and I would have backed into the fence. But that cross traffic alert on the Lightning, it also brakes for you. It braked before I hit the fence. So the vehicle braked for me.
So you're lucky because we would have cars to repair.
We could have two vehicles that are damaged. One would have been totaled. So we've got lane keeping system, also not annoying at Ford. You start to go out of your lane, the steering wheel shakes a little and helps bring you back. So you got that lane keeping alert and driver alert system. So it might tell you to pull over and grab a coffee.
And it says that to you.
Yeah.
You remember once the Bronco said to you, take a coffee break or something like that?
And what did I tell it? Told it to mind its own business.
Yeah, we just start to be on the road for like 10 minutes and it says that to you.
Yeah, I told the Bronco, I said, mind your own business. You won't tell me what to do. I'm talking to my wife, and that's why my eyes aren't as as much on the road as you'd like, but I was
That's
upset.
because my wife peed on her that I drive so badly.
No, Lily peed on me this night when I got home. She was really excited and wanted to be picked up, and then she returned the favor by peeing on me. So, build-in price, not talking, by the way, in case you're new to the show, this is Lily, and she is
cute
a
little
very
bear.
cute little affectionate bear. So for workout routine, the WB, you'll have to email me, and I'll try to cover it. I'd be glad to share. So, build-in price on the 2024 Ford Maverick. You get to the website, top right, you got the little build-in price button. Go to start your build. Do not put let us find it for you. Let us find it for you means a dealer is going to contact you, and very, very possibly the price they could give you is over MSRP. They'll just say, hey, you want this equipment? Great. It's going to cost, $700 per month. Maybe it's $650 per month, but they've got dealer fees. They've got adjusted market fees. So head over to the left side here, click on Start Your Build. Now, I think the XL is good, and let's zoom in on it. I think it's excellent for the price and for the amount of equipment it's offering you. It's incredible. And if you want to know how incredible it is, you just have to click View Details. Give you some nice, easy tricks here. And I've this
Too much zoom. Maybe?
too much zoom, so we got to zoom out. You got to go to View Details. And this is very misleading, folks. It'll give you a nice little paragraph saying, made to innovate. This model comes equipped with a standard 2-liter EcoBoost engine with 8-speed automatic transmission or available 2.5-liter hybrid powertrain. Remember, folks, available means you pay. It sounds like they're offering you, a free coffee or a glass of water, but you'll have to pay for this. It's not like that free coffee at the dealerships. You got an 8-inch LCD touchscreen center stack. You got Ford Pass, meaning you can start the vehicle. Don't be fooled. You don't need to add remote start to these vehicles. You'll have it across your phone. So just get Ford Pass. It's free. You got LED headlamps. But there's so much more on this vehicle. And it's not just what you read down here. If we zoom in here, we can see it's got manual seats, 17-inch sparkle silver steel wheels. They're just trying to make something that's pretty ordinary sound fancy. They're steelies. Let's just call them steelies here.
Silver steel wheels.
Now, the 2024 Ford Maverick has cruise control in the XL. Ford listened to us. Many of us buyers were chiming in, saying it needed that. It's got the 6 tie-downs. That's in the bed, the box of the vehicle. So tie-downs, that's what you're going to tie things to tie them down. And you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability, but wired. But the big one, here's the trick. Skip the fancy pictures. Keep going. Ignore the big blue button saying, hey, you should start your build now. That's all to get you to go spend more money. Go down to plus standard features. Plus standard features means you don't pay. And each one, you've got to click on each one. So power and handling, they're going to run you through the full list of what the vehicle comes with. And that's a lot. That's like 12 points that you won't see anywhere else, that you might end up thinking you have to buy more Maverick to get that. You click on interior features, pops up. So that like 15 points of added information that you probably didn't know is on the Ford Maverick unless you studied and memorized the order guide that most people can't find. But right there, you've got a whole list of what the vehicle's coming with. So, you've got power door locks and power windows. That's just one example. Maybe you thought you had to get XLT because traditionally Ford XL trucks do not come standard with power windows, power locks, or, remote. You can't just remote unlock the doors from a distance, which of course you can do with your cell phone with Ford Pass. But you actually have a key fob that from a distance you lock and unlock the doors. You get that all by clicking on all these details. And in total, you go through all the lists and all the equipment. And heck, you're going to go through and find over 60 points on the vehicle that you might have thought that you need to spend more money on in order to get. So let's now start the build. So I would actually take, I think the XL is great, but we're lovers of wheels, and
The look of the XLT.
we often lease because we like to switch often, and it's a little easier to switch in and out when you're on a lease because, well, when you're on a purchase, you're going to when you finance your vehicle, a lot of those first payments in the first year or two are mostly interest payments because the interest is front end loaded, meaning you pay a lot more interest at the beginning than you do at the end. So
Like
don't
a
be
mortgage
fooled.
on a
Like a
house.
mortgage on a house, they'll get you that way. That's not just Ford. That's every manufacturer. That's just how auto loans work. But you're also paying the taxes. And when we lease, well, you pay the taxes monthly and you pay your interest. Your interest is, you know, it's a lot easier usually to change. You go with a 4-year lease, you're often in a position at Ford to change after 2 years. If you finance this on 84 months, changing after 2 years could be a lot harder. And actually with the Maverick, because we were on a lease, we were able to switch that up pretty easy. So right now, I'd still, even though we're up here in the Great North, we get a lot of snow. Our Ford Maverick was incredible in the snow. We've towed a 4-wheeler and the trailer, obviously. We towed the trailer and the 4-wheeler in the snow, uphill, with half decent, not the best winter tires, but good winter tires.
And it was easy. So much easy. I was surprised for the size of the truck.
Tell it how it is, wife. I won't call you sister in this week's live. I'll say,
Don't call me sister.
tell it how it is, wife. Tell them how you went up. You and you were driving. Tell them about the conditions. How much snow? What kind of snow?
That was a lot of snow. That was a big storm. Like we have maybe 3 times a winter. It's not that much, but it was big snowballs was falling down. I remember you did the thumbnail for that one with the picture of the Maverick, and we see the snowballs falling down. It was big. It was heavy snow, heavy wet snow. So
yeah, and wet. So it liked to jam up the creases in the tires and fill those tires with snow to then make the tire kind of full and more likely to spin. And we're just a front-wheel drive hybrid. And we went right up the hill. We've got a
at the stop
good hill.
on the hill, and we were able to go up without having trouble. That was surprising.
Now, color is always subjective, but black, if you love to wash your car and you've got a lot of free time, take black. If you don't have a lot of free time, you're going to wash your car quickly one day. You're going to use a mitt that's got a few grains of sand in it or grime or whatever it may be, and you're going to put swirl marks all over your paint. Now, ceramic detailer, I do them myself. I like ceramic detailers. Makes it so I don't have to put the mitt to the vehicle nearly as often. I did a video on that I never produced 2 months ago, so I got to get to the car care, not just Johnny's Auto News here, but it's Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Please like and subscribe, because what does liking and subscribe do, honey?
Help to dress and feed those poodles.
Yes.
That are so energetic tonight.
And future baby, so, cost of inflation, the Ford Maverick.
We'll need to buy a baby seat.
We'll need to buy a baby seat.
To do Bronco rides again.
Salaries have matched inflation since the 1960s, but the cost of living has not. So help us out with the cost of living. Throw on a nice little thumbs up on the web here on the page and share this with people, because this is good information here that we're sharing. White, if you plan on reselling it to a company, white is always beloved by companies. We loved the cactus gray to the point where we had a Ford Bronco that was cactus gray. The longer we had it, the more we liked it, because the more our eye got attuned to seeing a little bit of green that's in that gray. So it's cool. And on the Bronco, it made it look, the brother-in-law, as a police officer, said, "Oh, you must have gotten that because it's kind of like it looks a little army." And not like jungle green in any way whatsoever, but he kind of felt like it was the mixture between, Desert Storm and paint scheme versus jungle. So nice color. We've got here for 2024 Ford Maverick carbonized gray metallic. That color is not going anywhere. It's offered pretty much on every Ford and Lincoln. It's low maintenance, doesn't show the swirl marks in your clear coat. easy to maintain, easy to correct stone chips. Always looks mostly clean even when it's pretty darn dirty. We've got Terrain. Now that's a new color and we haven't seen it yet, and there's nothing you can really see at Ford right now to get a preview of that color, but Ford has been nailing it these days with the colors. I regret not ordering Azure Gray for the Lightning because I only saw it on computer and it looked like crap on the computer. And now in person, it's one of the nicest colors you can get from any manufacturer. I now trust Ford when it comes to colors. This decade can be known as Ford's awesome color decade because whoever they've got working over there, I applaud you, my friend. Ford color choice, new color person, you deserve a raise.
But please bring back my cyber orange.
Azure Gray Metallic Tri-Coat is worth every single dollar. It's $800 on the Lightning, $495 here. And I would actually take Azure Gray. I do think it's nicer than your Area 51. They found a way. Area 51 was free. It's almost the same, but Area 51 was free. Now, the Azure Gray is a little nicer, but costs $500 more. But I'd take that or Hot Pepper Red Metallic Tinted Clear Coat. Guy at work has one of these. Mike, working down in the basement. And he washes this thing every single week, so it always looks better than showroom because I think he puts a ceramic detailer on it. It must be once every 3 weeks, which is really excessive, but I've never seen a vehicle look better than this thing. This thing, if you keep this color clean, you're going to look like a winner every day. Azure Gray, you can get away with keeping it not quite as clean and still have it look good. We've got Lightnings that, we've got some vehicles that have been sitting in the yard. They arrive from factory dirty and we haven't washed them yet and they still look good. They've been on test drives. Azure Gray is a good color if you're not into cleaning the vehicle.
I never washed my Area 51 and it was perfect.
Swirl marks won't look so bad in Azure Gray either. So if you clean your car with a dirty mitt, the swirl marks that will be in your clear coat won't show too much. It'll show more in pepper red. Silver, lowest maintenance. Shows it, you wash this thing with a dirty mitt, you ruin your clear coat, it's not going to show. You're not going to have to go pay someone $500 to do a proper compound and polish. Compound, then polish, then wax. So said maybe $500 to $800 to correct your dirty mitt situation. You're good with silver if that is you. If I just described you, go with silver. Now, Atlas Blue Metallic. What do you think of Atlas Blue Metallic?
That's a classic. That's a color that we will always see, I guess. They won't remove it.
Yeah, it's a play on, it's a darker velocity blue.
Yeah, people loved it. So, yeah, it's a darker velocity blue. It's close. So, I think we'll continue to see that color a lot.
Would you get the luxury package again?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I love the heated seat, heated steering wheels. It's a must here.
It's a must, and we would have never sold it the way we sold it. We sold it good.
Fully equipped. It was helping.
It was helping. People
with the hitch. The person really loved that I had a hitch on it. So yeah, that's a perfect car for somebody who wants to buy a car that will last a lot of years.
Now here's my big trick of the day. Best tip and trick ever, besides the first tip and trick at the beginning of the video, and that's to go check all the details and read through all the details because maybe the lowest equipped model is the right one for you. Then go one model up and go through it, and maybe that's the right one for you. But if it's almost the right one for you and you're feeling, hey, it's missing one or two things, well, go build that one. So here, XLT, if we went through all the details, we would have said, hey, that's almost right, but it's missing heated seats. Well, at any time, when you read something like here, XLT 300 equipment group, that's included in standard, but you want to know what's in it, hit the little eye here to the side by Marie's head. It'll turn blue, you'll hit it, and if you've zoomed in, you'll then get absolutely nothing. But a lot of you probably don't have touchscreen laptops. Maybe all of you do. Maybe I think I'm high tech and I'm actually, 5 years behind.
Still trying.
But you click the little eye and then you can zoom in if you've got, if you're showing it on a TV, for example, or you've got bad eyes. But that's where you'll see that, well, standard, you've got 17-inch painted aluminum wheels. So we like the XLT because we're fancy wheel people. You've got the painted gray grille bar, navy Pierre, and medium slate interior with orange accents. You've got your power glass exterior, side view mirrors, so you get to electronically adjust those outside side mirrors. You've got the power locking tailgate, which was big for us. We definitely wanted that. We definitely wanted the security code, keyless entry.
Yeah, that's a nice feature that I love.
And we wanted the extra tie downs in the bed. We wanted to be working this truck. We planned on doing renovations with this truck, but we got stuck with a Lightning. So instead of trading the Lightning in for the Bronco, we were too upside down, too much negative equity on the Lightning. So we had to keep the Lightning because we don't want to lose 30-some thousand. So we went ahead and had to sell the Maverick, which I think we overall kind of, when you consider payments, we prefer the Maverick over the Lightning when we consider payments.
Yeah, for the payments,
they're
definitely.
the same price. Yeah, okay.
The Lightning is way too expensive.
Yeah, we should have, now that they've lowered the price on the Lightning, it's very much a good value. But if we were to do it all over with today's price, I'd be very convinced, and I find it a great deal to buy an XLT Lightning standard range battery and have another vehicle as a long range.
But
now,
we have fun with the fully electric truck.
Oh, we do. I'd take a standard battery XLT. I wouldn't go all out on a Lariat at 110 Canadian and then have Ford drop the price 10 grand on me and not give me anything. And I'm still waiting.
I don't love that.
That's the price of the mortgage. I'm still waiting for my heated steering wheel, and I'm stuck with Blue Cruise 1.0. So for someone who spent 110 grand, didn't get that rebate, I paid the extra add-on from 22 to 23. I really don't like it when manufacturers play around with pricing because it messes around with the trade-in values.
You said we wanted my Maverick to do Renaults, but now we're stuck with the Lightning. My Maverick was perfect for Renaults because I have a full bed cover and yours didn't have one. So you're like, hey, don't scratch my bed. So it's not a renovation truck.
No, it's not. I cheaped out and didn't even put a bed liner in it. I just put a bed mat.
You need to be careful.
So bed mat, like you'll see for the Maverick, a bed mat is a nice rubberized flooring. It looks good. It says F-150 if it's an F-150. It looks really cool, but your sides will still get scratched up. But if I were to buy a hybrid Maverick right now, guess what? I would not only add luxury package, I'd want black appearance package.
Yeah, I know you love that kind of package.
Black appearance package right there. You've got, let's zoom in on this. It looks amazing.
I think you cannot zoom when it's on a small window.
All right. So you've got your black grille in the front. You've got black lights. You've got black mags. And you've got a black interior. The thing looks so sporty, so sharp. Very much worth the $1,645. And it's great. You click on the little E and you've got the whole rundown of everything that it offers. You even get black Ford logos, black mirrors.
It's really just aesthetical.
You got body colored mirrors. You've got the interior accents being black, the headlamps and tail lamps being black. It's fully aesthetic, but it's not available with the obviously you can't get a Tremor off-road package or an FX4 off-road package. And the only really, if I wasn't getting a hybrid black appearance package, I'd go with a Tremor Maverick. Tremor is unbelievably good looking, and then you'd have all-wheel drive. So it depends if I actually want to do some off-roading with the vehicle or not. Now you've got the Copilot 360 package. Remember, because we've gone through the details, we know they all come with the 360 package. So don't be fooled. Don't just click on that because you're like, oh, I need some safety. The vehicle doesn't have any. No, the vehicle comes equipped with a great safety system.
But if you click on it, will they charge for that?
Well, it's because it's for $650. It's giving us this extra.
Few stuff
so you're getting lane keeping aid, lane keeping alert, driver alert system.
Okay.
And you're getting Bliss with cross traffic alert.
Oh,
but
that's good for the price. $650.
It's good, but you need to go back to that original order guide and look under the XL standard equipment and make sure that the standard isn't, good. If it make sure that it's not good enough before spending extra money, because maybe it is good enough. So available on XL and XLT. So you have to go back and really make sure what the vehicle's coming standard with, and the order guide is never wrong. The website can be wrong. So I always think that you need to shop these vehicles, you need to build them online, but you need to have an open window, let's say like here, and you just pop open and you go, okay, hold on, what's the real deal here? Kind of seems like it's repeating itself. So you go to XL series here, you've got your equipment group. We'll go down to Ford Copilot 360, and we do see it's optional on the XL if you want the blind spot information system with cross traffic alert and lane keeping system. But if you go back to the top at the beginning of each, whether you're at the start of XL, XLT, or Lariat, it'll always say standard equipment. So you can go back to top title here, you see Super Crew XL standard equipment. And then you just head on down, you go to their safety and security in this case, but you find it and you see, oh, well, it has anti-theft engine immobilizer, standard, all models. You've got, of course, you go through the airbags, but you can go down and you can see it's got Ford Copilot 360 technology. And you're like, oh, well, what's going on? Or is this a ripoff? Are they trying to steal $650 from me? No, it's because the base, this is just bad. Whoever names stuff over at Ford maybe needs, I don't know what's going on with them. I think they think that people can easily differentiate between things that are essentially called the same thing, like Blue Cruise 1.0, Blue Cruise 1.2. Well, what the heck is Blue Cruise? Blue Cruise. What the what? The title names are supposed to help understand what the thing is. Go back to Aristotle. Aristotle had a good idea of how to name things. Names are supposed to help be somewhat descriptive, to give you little hints. These aren't hints. Blue Cruise is like, you could have called it bull crap, and oh, it's got the bull crap 1.0. Great. Oh, hit this button and bull crap goes and bull crap happens.
But it's just because every fabricant wants their proper name to stuff like that.
Yes, but if all the good names are taken, use someone else's good name. Don't go with a crap name because all the good names are taken. But anyways,
Blue Cruise, blue, is it for the logo Ford? So it says the Cruise of Ford. Oh.
It's as silly as calling it Ford Cruise. Don't expect the people to naturally hear Ford Cruise and know what it is.
Ford Cruise. I love the name Blue Cruise.
Okay, well, at least you love it because it makes me red in the face and makes me want to fire people. Whew. If I was the head at Ford, there'd be a lot of, you're fired. You're fired. Get out. But there'd also be a lot of, you get a big raise. You deserve it. So the person who's doing the colors deserves the biggest raise ever. The biggest raise at Ford right now should be going to the person making these colors up. And we can maybe replace the person naming things. And who knows, maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm just an opinionated jerk. And that's okay too, because we need to accept who we are as people, even if we are opinionated jerks. You got to love yourself. So you got the XL standard Copilot. So this is why I got on this rant. They call it Copilot when you're paying more for it, and they're calling Copilot 360 when you're also not paying anything for it. Well, how about Copilot 360 is your standard? Maybe you've got a Copilot 720. At least the numbers let you know that there's more in it. It still doesn't describe what the hell it is.
360 is the degree.
Copilot 360, you could have called it Karen 360, and at least you'd know, oh, well, the Karen edition is when it's going to bark orders at you. That's how you got your Karen 360. But then you could have maybe a Susan 180 and a Susan 180. Well, Susan's sweet, she only gives you, it's just the little markers lighting up, but she doesn't chew you out. She doesn't ask to speak to the manager. She doesn't go full Karen, Super Saiyan Karen on you. She just goes Sweet Susan. So Sweet Susan is just little lights and nice little calm tonalities. But anyways, Copilot 360 named the same all over the place here, but the base one that's free is auto LED high beams, pre-collision assist with automatic emergency braking, pedestrian detection, Ford collision warning, dynamic brake support, so it will brake last minute up to 38 kilometers an hour for you, and rear view camera. So the other Copilot 360 with the exact same name costing $650 US, it's because it's giving you more but with the same name.
Will you do
Someone
another
needs to get
rant
fired.
because it says pedestrian detection, not bike detection?
No, because well, and it is
Another
annoying.
thing
It
that
is
you don't
annoying that
love.
they call it pedestrian detection because it also will detect cars. So it's using words that are meant to provide definitions that cover what it actually does, but it's not covering the extent because you're right, it does cover bicycles and it covers trash
And
cans.
you would love that they
And
cover more bicycle because it's annoying you
so
all the
again,
time on the
someone
road.
needs to be maybe fired because how do you have someone calling this pedestrian detection when in reality it's
Everybody
obstacle
that's on the
detection?
way.
And then if you call it obstacle detection, you can also have a system that avoids these obstacles. You could have it could be called the obstacle avoidance package. Now I don't work at naming things at Ford. And we're on live. If you're watching this as a mini episode on the side, great. But the lives are a little more interesting, a little more lively with the help of our community. Very helpful community. Love them. But to get back on topic, just to say, I'm doing this live. This is just off the top of my head. And I think I've already come up with a better name for the technology packages than what they probably pay someone, hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to work up on names. So if you're that person, I'm sure you're not watching this, but if you are, I'm sorry, but we can just Google words. When you don't have a good word for something, but you're close, just throw it in Google and ask for similar words, and it'll give you similar words that are better.
It's
So,
due for vacation. Sorry, guys.
obstacle detection and obstacle avoidance packages could definitely work. Now, I sometimes get things horribly wrong because in the manner of writing quickly today, I was writing about my self-driving system on the Lightning, and technically it's not self-driving. They're not allowed to call it self-driving, and I used the wrong word. And it's actually kind of poor at self-driving because it's not perfect, even though the Ford's Blue Cruise is award-winning. It does, on the highway and on roads that it's programmed to run on, it's the best system. Tesla does more, but less well. So Tesla can actually, the new Teslas that are high up enough, and if you're willing to pay enough money for this added technology, well, you just punch in your destination. It'll take you from door to door. But it'll have probably more random braking than the Blue Cruise system, and that's why Blue Cruise system works. Award-winning for being the best. Can't call it self-driving system, but driving assistance system. And now we're just about done because no matter how you build your Ford Maverick, it's all about knowing how to use the tool. And how you use the tool here is at any time you can click on the calculator at the top and pow, you get your price. Don't get fooled. Easy to get fooled because wow, that's a great price. The US system always throws down a cash. So let's zoom in on that. US system is always going to throw on a cash, roughly 10% of the price of the vehicle. And they're not going to have the taxes in there. If you're on the Canadian system, you also need to click on the taxes. If you're on the American system, maybe you want to get rid of the cash. Mind you, having cash these days in a Maverick is a good idea because, well, what does interest look like on a Maverick, Marie?
Can find it quickly.
In Canada, it's 7.99%, and that's a whole lot of interest. And that's
That's
actually,
a lot.
it's very competitive, sadly, because
Competitive. I was crying with my 4.9%
Yeah,
on March.
you got a special interest rate because when you reordered your September 2022, your switched 22 order turned and got converted into a 23, and because that was a confirmed order, meaning we sent to Ford a picture of your driver's license, a signed purchase offer signed by you and us. We sent a build order, a build sheet signed by you and us. We also had you sign a few other sheets saying, for example, that you understand that we can't promise you a specific price on your trade-in. We can't promise you a specific delivery date. So you signed sheets to say that even if the dealership were scumbags and tried to screw me and tried to lie to me, now I'm going to read the truth. So Ford works hard to make sure that their clients actually get the real deal, that they get the truth. And in order to get a Maverick even built, maybe now that there's more production capability, dealers will get some inventory, and orders that aren't confirmed will actually start showing up. But previously, if you didn't have a confirmed order Maverick, you weren't getting a Maverick. It just was not getting built. Ford really wanted to force dealers to get these sheets signed. And if as a customer you ask to have copies of all these sheets, well, then you've got your interest rate protected. You've got your price protected. And that's why you saved thousands of dollars in interest had you paid it the whole period of time. And you saved thousands of dollars on the price of the vehicle because your order was confirmed and you had copies signed by the dealer. That's how you avoid getting screwed by the dealer. But Ford works hard to make sure that, dealers, unfortunately, because of laws, they can sell higher, they can sell lower. It's their business. They can do what they want. But Ford has been giving less vehicles, significantly less vehicles to dealers. Well, no Mavericks if they weren't getting confirmed. But the problem is you need to have those copies with you, on you, and you need to watch this show to know what to say and what to do. So hit the like button, hit the bell notification, subscribe, don't miss out. We will save you thousands of dollars. So I would definitely take either a Tremor, all-wheel drive. It's the bomb. It won't blow up on you. It's the bomb in the sense that it's really cool. Or a hybrid luxury package with black appearance package as well. And you'd end up with about $376 with just the black appearance, but I think the black appearance probably forced me right automatically to take luxury package. Let's check that out. I didn't get any of them. Looked at the information, didn't click them, but if you take black appearance, it's going to throw on the XLT. It tells you need to take the XLT luxury package, so it warns you. This is a great system. Jeep system is darn dirty. Jeep Wrangler, they'll show you shiny things, pretty things, and say, oh, would you like this shiny thing? Would you like this pretty thing? And they go, oh, it's $4 per week. Oh, it's $10 per week. And you end up building a $20,000 vehicle. You end up spending $20,000 more on the vehicle than if they're just straightforward and honest. And we're like, hey, what you just clicked on, what you're considering ordering, that's going to cost you $4,000. So if we build my ideal hybrid, you'd probably take it without the black appearance, or are you with me on this?
I will take it the same as the last time without it.
Okay.
XLT, Lux, that's all.
Okay, we can continue to live together. I can accept the difference in opinion. I'm a big boy.
I don't love to pay for just aesthetical accessories sometimes.
Hey, originally you wanted to order...
It depends on what.
Originally you wanted an XL Maverick.
No, never an XL. I don't love the Steelies.
Oh no, you wanted an
I'm
EcoBoost. That's right. You want an EcoBoost. That's so true. So anyways, if we were to lease this, we'd be looking at $424 per month on a 48-month lease with 10,500 miles. Always, you want to figure out how many miles you do per year. If your previous vehicle is 4 years old, you've had it for 4 years, you've got 40,000 miles. Well, guess what? You do 10,000 miles. So look at the number of years that you've had it, divide that by your total mileage. If you bought it with mileage, well, the difference in mileage from where it is now from when you bought it, and that's how much miles you've been doing, and you can probably continue to plan on doing the same type of mileage. And I would absolutely lease all day long, because at the end of these leases, if the vehicle's worth more than your residual or your buy it back amount, you hand the keys back and you wash your hands and you're fine. You might have to pay, let's say it's worth $6,000 less, but you're returning it with finished tires and a cracked windshield. Well, if you're on purchase and you're trading in your vehicle, guess what? You're getting less for your trade-in because of those scratches or your finished tires or your finished windshield. So you'd be paying for it anyways by getting less for your trade. But even if you have to write a check for $1,000, if it saves you $6,000 or $8,000 because your vehicle has depreciated far more than the payments you put in, well, you're protected. And if you're on purchase though, however, if it's worth more, you can cash in on that because you can sell your own lease or trade in your own lease and look to make money. So you need to shop your trade-in. Shop your trade-in, folks. Make sure you get a fair amount for your trade-in. And remember, trade value is needs to be less, and it only makes sense that trade value is less than advertised for sale value. And don't necessarily just look at the most expensive one online and say, okay, I should get a few $1,000s less than the most expensive one available. No, the ones that sell online are the least expensive ones. Now, Ford Video Guy, he's a Maverick Tremor fan like myself. And because I like to do, if the Ford Maverick was my only vehicle, I would absolutely want it to be an all-wheel drive Tremor, because I would take it off-roading a little. I'd take it into the woods to cut some wood. I'd take it into the woods to cut some wood, to even just have that as an excuse to have the day off and actually get to throw some mud all over the place. I want to take it in a farmer's field and do donuts when I have permission. At the end of season, helping them till the land by doing those donuts. So that's how I would do it. And at any time, if you're not sure about what you've built, you can just go back, change around your equipment. So yeah, Tremor would be my other main build. If it was my only vehicle, I would definitely get a Tremor. Now we're at 1 hour and 50 minutes, and we've got a big decision. I'm going to let the future mama decide. Are we going over, and are we going to be talking about some upcoming Ford models? Maybe 2 episodes, 4 or 5 minutes each. Or do we cover a build and price on a Ford Bronco? Because you can still order a Ford Bronco, shop your dealership, but certain dealerships will have 2024 allotments left, despite the amount of orders they already have in the system. So do we build and price a Ford Bronco real quick?
What do you think it will be more interesting?
I'd love to see what the community throws in here.
Yeah, the first one to reply. Choose.
First one to reply. We can cover the Mustang GTD, as well as the Ford Lobo F-150 and the Platinum Lightning Flat Black Edition, or dark appearance package. I don't know. We'll have to check it out. So we can look at those 3 models, cover them in about a little few quick little episodes, or do we do a nice little build and price on a Ford Bronco?
Nobody wrote yet, so maybe I'll choose the 2 quick episodes.
All right.
Just because we will have more information, because it's 2.
Fair enough. So let's hit it up. If you want to actually pull up some photos. So new packages at Ford, new episode, new packages, special editions coming to Ford that you may never get your hands on, but well, the media is going to advertise these up, which I always think it's weird. Why aren't we advertising and promoting how cool the Ford Maverick is? Because that's great for people's budgets, but instead let's make them dream about vehicles they can never get. So let's jump on the jerk bandwagon and talk about vehicles that most of us will never be able to afford. Some of them are essentially not even available. Now, the Ford Bronco, that is available, honey. I know you feel like it's not available. You're in love.
Maybe you want the Bronco at the end of the picture.
Yeah, I see.
This one looks not affordable.
Okay,
Am I right?
Yeah, this is a great example. Throw on some Braptor photos. We've got the new Code Orange Ford Bronco. And yes, Ford listens to their customer base. I love them for this. They really look at the feedback. They watch the YouTube shows. And they're in with it. They don't make you wait 5 years to get what you want. They listen to their fan base and they do it right away. So there's a lot of complaints about these fenders not being painted. And guess what? On the Code Orange package, they're painted right now and they look amazing. But most dealers, Code Orange, most dealers, just to get a Raptor in the first place, some dealers will get 0. Some dealers will get 4, 5 because they're huge dealers. Some dealers will even get 10 because they have, they sell like, the equivalent of 10 medium-sized dealerships or, 10 big Canadian dealerships. But we're a pretty decently sized dealership when it comes to sales volume, and we're getting 1 per year, and we're lucky. We follow Ford's rules. We don't have dealer fees. We don't charge over MSRP. So we get little favors here and there. And we've got 1 Braptor. Ford always rewards the dealers that treat their customers well. For a while, there's this YouTube reputation ruining stuff. I don't know, a lot of YouTubers, I think, want to see Ford, Dodge, or GM go bankrupt. And, there's this quick talk of, Ford providing more dealers to dealers, you know, that they weren't doing anything in regards to these over MSRPs. And that's just was for the furthest thing from the truth. There's name match, there's various systems in place. You get less vehicles if you're not selling them fairly and treating your customers right. So I think it's an incredibly good looking package. Now I'm looking forward to your opinion here. We've got I'm going to leave you in charge of photos, but can you get to the flat black? Here we go. So if you want to just cycle through these photos, this is your Ford's only going to make a few thousand of these. About 2,000 of these are going to be built. It's got an actual, it's the first production Ford to have a wrap on it. So this is a flat black wrap.
I love that.
You love it?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so maybe one day I could flat black wrap a vehicle.
But it depends on which vehicle. On an F-150, it's great.
Okay, cool. Maybe the F-150 Lightning, since we're living with it for 4 years now, maybe it'll get a black wrap at the 2-year mark if I get tired of white.
But maybe it's big. It will cost a lot of wrap. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, I will not correct you. A good proper wrap, if you do it yourself, it probably won't be proper. It probably won't be good, but it will be cheap. But if you pay to have these done,
it's a big surface.
You can pay $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to get a wrap done. And if you're in areas like Los Angeles where manual labor, quality manual labor, you pay a fortune for, well, you could end up paying $6,000 for
you know what?
a wrap.
At that price, you need to have a better color, a popping color. Like putting in purple, orange at that price.
Yeah.
Do it all the way.
Now, Ridgeview makes a really good point. I really like the comment that he dropped down here saying that, you know, when it comes to bright colors, people will either love them or hate them. And probably there'll be a bit of love or hate with this as well. Now, this is going to be almost 100,000 US, so 99,000 and I think $900 US. But you're getting sort of the smoked out lights, the black high gloss grille, the black high gloss rims. You're getting like the highest level of professional wrap over this vehicle. Ford's first wrapped vehicle for production ever. You're even getting kind of like a smoked power roof. So this is essentially a platinum, super rare edition because there'll be 2,000 of these. Ford has roughly 3,000 US dealers, roughly 450 Canadian dealers. So don't expect your dealer to get one. Many dealers will not get one. Some dealers will get, you know, if mega huge dealers could get 10. I'd be surprised if we even get one. And if we do, it's going to be at MSRP. So if you're looking for one of these, hit me up. Got some great, I'm sorry for my big old head here and big hair, but look at this. What a stunning vehicle. You know, the Lightnings, lots of space in the front. Now, I'd love for Ford, you're doing a great job. You're pushing out, pumping out beautiful models, and Ford's going to continue to pump out special editions. But I need them to also focus on getting us the heated steering wheel that they removed because of the chip crisis. Focus also on getting us our updates for, you know, Blue Cruise 1.2. I believe I'm supposed to get a free upgrade. Heated steering wheel before winter, please, Ford. Get us. I know Ford, you listen to us. You're a fantastic company for that, but get us our heated steering wheels. So if you have a vehicle that didn't get all its equipment on it, well, if there's a rebate on your window sticker that's above $100, pretty much always means you're never going to get it. If it's below $100, like a $75 credit for not having a heated steering wheel, well, below $100, you are going to get it. It's just a question of time. And it's really cool that Ford does over-the-air upgrades. And one, they haven't burnt out any vehicles. The GM had that problem with their ZR2 Bison. You got two YouTubers, a YouTuber's brother, as well as the actual YouTube test vehicle for TFL. And also Tim over at Pickup Truck and SUV Talk. His brother had a problem. It fried the radio, but Ford doesn't have all its customers do the over-the-air update at once. And they also kind of do just a few at the beginning. And they wait to see what the actual results are before spreading it to everyone. So not everyone's update. It's normal if maybe your neighbor gets their update and you end up waiting an extra month. And that's for smart safety issues. And I applaud Ford for doing that, even though it can mean that customers might be a little grumpy, like, oh, well, how come I haven't gotten mine yet? And make extra phone calls to Ford. And that means extra money spent on customer service. But I think it's the right thing to do. You don't do all your over-there updates the same day to everyone all in one shot and then go, oh, oops.
We need to correct a bug.
Everyone needs to get towed to the dealer and their vehicles aren't functioning and they need new radios and we're out of radios for a month and oops. Yeah, that's sad. When
Too
stuff
much
like
at the
that
same
happens,
time.
it's like, okay, where was the boss on this one? Was he wearing pants? Is he the type of boss that goes to the job wearing shorts? Because this seems like a bit of a joke. Like this wasn't thought out.
He's remote working, that's why
He's-
he doesn't wear pants.
He's in his boxers remote working. Maybe so. Maybe so. That's a good joke. Hey, I'm supposed to do the dad jokes.
You're lucky I'm still awake at this hour.
You're doing great. So,
Thank you.
also on a note, outside of specialty models, if you have small little issues, like our Bronco has got this tiny little spot that a thief could just stick their finger in and pop open, you just
Just
need to talk
break
to
just
Ford about it.
To be
They'll take
annoyed.
care of you. So thank you, Ford Video Guy, saying that they plan to update Lightning 2 Blue Cruise 1.3 by the end of the year. Yes! Thank you, Tim. Love your information. Lily, sorry that I just clocked you. For whatever reason, that means you're
She
going to
wanted
kiss me
to
more.
kiss you. She was happy for the news.
Now, Ford Bronco news that makes us happy. So let's just talk about general Ford news. So this is our final episode. Thank you everyone for sticking with us, but we need to get over to All Terrain Nation real soon because they've now started up. So we'll be watching a few minutes behind everyone. But all Ford Broncos have the 12-inch screen. That's why I've been eager to do a build and price. So next week, no matter what, we're doing a Ford Bronco build and price because you can still order a Bronco, and I will probably decide and say that I think now the best value is the Big Ben or the Black Diamond because it now comes standard with the touchscreen, and those are both packages in which you can get mid-package, meaning keyless entry, heated seats, so that's huge. I wouldn't pay luxury package just to get that Bang & Olufsen. I'd follow M. Peugeot's advice, even though he's off that all-terrain, so he won't catch this. But here's a compliment. I'm sending you flowers, my friend. But M. Peugeot suggested throwing in the kicker system. It's a sub and amplifier underneath a seat. You could also go down the route of opening up the side panel on a 23 and you'll have a subwoofer box already in there, and you can throw in an actual sub and an actual amp and look to get that wired up to the radio to have great sound. Those are great ways to avoid the luxury package. Now mid package is the way to go because now high package and luxury package are one. And well, they cost more than just in the past when you'd go with the high package. But I think most people wanted the high package to have the 12-inch screen. So that's standard. Base model is gone. But Big Ben is pretty awesome. But then the Black Diamond is off-road. And you know what? The Big Ben has marine-grade vinyl inside. So we need to get to a build and price on these because so much has changed for 2024. Ford is truly, really treating us. But to finish up the episode, we won't do a build and price. We'll save that for next episode. But I do have Car and Driver over here, and I'm looking for the GTD. So the automobile world loves to focus on those vehicles. Now make us dream and have us do 10 hours or 15 hours of overtime thinking we'll get these vehicles. But they're a dream. They're a pipe dream. Ford's going to build next to none of these. Is this car extremely cool? Yes. It's going to compete on the Nürburgring. It's going to work. It's supposed to come in under 7 minutes on the Nürburgring. And it's going to be a Porsche GT3 RS rival. It'll either be a little bit faster or just ever so slightly slower, but it's going to rival the Porsche GT3 RS 911, of course.
Yeah, and if it's the look that it will finish with, it's totally perfect.
Dudes with wrenches. I love what he's saying here. GTD is a work of art proving the Mustang can be anything. Yeah, that's so true. It can even be an electric SUV. Yeah, because we're all really happy about the Mustang Mach-E naming. Again, the person who names things at Ford. I want them in my office. I'll fire them. I don't have that kind of power. No one will leave me with that kind of power, but people would get fired under my rule.
And it will be weird to have a Mustang truck after that too.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Why don't we have a Mustang baby stroller? Why not? A Mustang four-wheeler? Why? Let's just overuse the word Mustang until it means less. It's kind of like inflation. When you print off names the way you can print out extra money, the value of the money or the value of the name goes down. Now,
good comparison.
Why can't banks, governments, and heads of corporations understand this simple idea? Women understand it.
Let the Mustang be a sports car.
Women understand it. If you give it for free all the time, the guy's not going to be as interested as if you make him work a little for it. So you make me work a little for supper, and you tell me if I'm good and if I'm nice, you'll pick up the steaks at the grocery store, and we'll have steaks, and you'll make a nice little veggies to go on the side. Well, if you make me work a little,
make you work, because I don't know how to do the barbecue.
That's right.
No, I could know, but I don't want to learn.
Ladies know to
if
make.
you want your steak, you do it on the barbecue.
That's right. Ladies know to not give it out for free all the time, because then it's just overused. It's inflation. So inflation can be put on anything, anytime something doesn't seem scarce anymore. That's also the reason why this can sell for $300,000. One, it's probably going to beat the Porsche 911 GT3 RS. On the Nürburgring. It's a work of art, and
it's impeccable.
The technology is pretty impressive. The back wing can move up or down, kind of like a Porsche 911's but rear wing. The back wing can move up or down based on the needs. The suspension can behave differently based on whether you've got racetrack conditions or you've got, regular road conditions. The thing is gorgeous. It's going to sound out of this world.
I love that color too.
Oh, the Ford did a great job when it comes to marketing on this. Beautiful color, beautiful shape. Helps us all be more excited for our Mustang GTs or Mustang EcoBoosts that we'll have ordered or will be buying. I know for a long time I was really upset. And I was really upset because Chevrolet had the Corvette, and the Corvette was exciting. And I'm talking back like early 2000s, up until they came out with the 2015 Mustang. I felt it unfortunate. Ford had what I call, and what the auto market calls, a flagship vehicle. The Corvette brought people into Chevrolet dealerships, because they're like, wow, Corvette's exciting. And people who didn't have Corvette money, who may never end up with a Corvette, end up buying, a Santa Cruz. But they're happy doing it because you've got some excitement behind the brand. Now, Ford's really, under the current management, Ford is awesome. They're pumping us all up. They're getting us real excited. They've got flagship products. And I still think it'd be cool if Ford could have a two-seater Corvette competitor to get everyone really excited. But the Mustang, they've been blowing it out of the water with these Mustangs. Chevy Cobalt, Outsider Reviews, fantastic example. People were buying up Chevy Cobalt SS's and driving them around like they had a rare Corvette race car. But that's because they drew in that kind of buyer. They drew in some excitement. And if you don't have any exciting vehicles, because it's only the bean counters that are controlling what gets built, what do you have? You end up only selling to boring vehicles to boring people, and people who are happy having boring lives. But vehicle purchase is a logical decision for some. It's an emotional decision for others, and it's a mix of both for a lot of people. And if you don't have any emotion behind your brand, you're going to lose out a big chunk of the market. But look, it's wild these days. There's so much emotion going behind at Ford. I said I was going to have you control the photos here, and here I am.
Yeah.
Can you get up the photo of the GTR? So Nissan GTR. There's so much excitement behind Ford, with the Bronco, the Lightning. A lot of the new products at Ford under current management, I have to give an A++ to Ford management the last few years, because you're drawing in people who have these kind of cars. We're taking in Porsche on trade. Lots of Porsche models on trade. Lately, we've taken in 3 Porsches in the period of like 45 days. We've taken in some Land Rover, lower levels, all the way to some very high trim, high cost Land Rovers, lots of Mercedes. We drove by the dealership this weekend, and what did you say? Oh my goodness, you've got 2 Mercedes for sale. And I was like, yeah, that's just on the front. There's more rows behind. We're taking in BMWs, Mercedes. This week I'll be taking in a BMW M4 convertible. Why? Mustang Mach-E, the Ford Maverick, the Mustang Mach-E, the Ford F-150 Lightning, and the Bronco are bringing in the majority of the people that they're bringing in to purchase are from other brands, and a good portion of those are driving things like this. This is going to be quite possibly an F-150 Lariat Lightning owner. So we've got all sorts of interest. Now if we could just maybe rotate, show a few more photos of the vehicle. This is a high-end supercar. And the guy, this thing does, he's telling me it's roughly 3.4 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. So then what did he go ahead and say? Oh, I'm looking at a Lightning. It's almost as fast, but I'll also be able to do some home renos with it. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Yes, it is almost as fast in a straight line.
But tell him he needs to have the right bed liner in it, not doing the same as yours.
He's got a GTR, Nissan GTR. Clearly, he's not going to be cheap like me. He'll definitely go with the bed liner. And you're right, I will recommend it to him, and I applaud you for that. I deserve to be teased on that one pretty hard, and you're doing a great job of it. So Ford's doing a great job throwing out exciting models. You don't need to build so many of them that you end up having to give them away with huge rebates. You can have high cost specialty models, just like Ford's looking at a new model called the Ford Lobo, which means wolf in Spanish.
It's a weird name.
A lot, actually, in Mexico, the F-150s are called Lobo. Or wolf in Spanish, except for the XL model. So they're going to bring that. They're going to have a special edition of that. Now, we don't know exactly, can't promise you what it's going to be, but it kind of looks like it's going to be the opposite of a Tremor. So you've got your Tremor as your off-road model, and the Lobo edition. Now, if we go over...
And I guess their special edition is the Loco Lobo.
No.
The crazy wolf.
I guess you're getting cute, but for the GTD 300,000, almost none of these will get built, but it's going to bring excitement to the brand. So you need to have some excitement on the very high end. You've got a rear suspension on this, which is out of this world. Just to finish up on the GTD, you've got rear suspension completely out of this world on this, because it's kind of mounted in kind of the trunk, you could say. So beautiful, beautiful vehicle. But the suspension's pretty fancy too, because you've got spring rate at the top, spring rate at the bottom. You can get different types of driving out of this vehicle. It would be illegal for a lot of races because it's about bringing the highest level of technology, which is kind of, some of the technology it's got is actually banned. So if you want to head over to Car and Driver, great read on that. You can get all the really nitty gritty on this vehicle. It's beautiful. The suspension is very, very much high tech. And I think it's worth a read if you're entertained by these things, but keep in mind, next to no one can afford one of these. Next to no one will be able to get one of these. Even if you can afford it, you won't be able to get one, but it does bring a lot of excitement to Ford, and it helps sell sell Mustangs. Back in the 60s and 70s, first on race day, first in sales. Well, now people aren't watching aren't putting as much importance on the races because we don't race. We can't do any street racing anymore without getting arrested and criminally charged. So what's important is the emotion, the look of a vehicle, the emotion that a car company and its vehicles bring. And then also it's always fun for certain people to read and be impressed with this type of, technology. So that's the suspension. And you can see the suspension is up top here.
That's a piece of art.
It's a piece of art. It's pretty fancy. And you can see there's spring. I'll really zoom in here. That's as much as I can get out of it. But there's some less spun spring here for more comfort. And then down here, you've got some more tightly sprung spring for more your race setup. So you can have a vehicle that's both race as well and do, incredible lap times on the Nürburgring, but then you can also hit a pothole and not end up with a chipped spine and a back injury or be paralyzed like you would feel driving certain BMWs. BMWs are notoriously really, really stiff, and they actually shake up their customer base so much that it probably kind of like shaken baby syndrome probably shakes a lot of adults, and that's why they can't use the blinker anymore. Typical BMW driver cannot use the darn blinker, and they just will randomly, turn in front of you.
It's not only BMW, it's 45% of the driver on the road.
On the highway, last summer, what vehicle almost killed us? Was it the Porsche that wouldn't stop? We were driving our Mustang GT, in Canada. We were driving our Mustang GT convertible, top down. Clearly, we don't want to go 200 kilometers an hour. And do we look like the type of couple that want to go 200 kilometers an hour?
Like grandparents.
We're just cruising, relaxed style. And a Porsche 911 wouldn't stop trying to race us. And it got eventually kind of dangerous. So I did kind of stomp on it to get out of his way, but that's a different story. But when he took off, because he thought I was going to take off, but I just wanted to fake it so he'd leave me alone, I faked it, gave a little acceleration, let off, so he'd take off and he'd be out of our hands. What happened? BMW, last minute, for no reason, popped in front of him when there's, maybe 100 or 80 feet left. But he must have been rolling like 200 kilometers an hour, 200. Mm-hmm. And that was a near collision.
Crazy driver.
And then after he slowed down, and again, he kept harassing me. So finally, I was like, I'm going to accelerate for my own safety to just get out of this situation. And then the BMW threw itself in front of me. And it's like, blinker. If you use your blinker wildly, I will actually be like, hey, this guy might put his blinker on. He might pull out. I'm going to really slow down just in case. But what I should have seen is, BMW, brain damage from the stiff suspension. I better just pull over and wait 5 minutes because it'll be a lot safer than driving anywhere near this BMW owner. But anywho, I digress. The Ford Mustang GTD will have both a suspension that can be stiff, rock hard for crazy wild good lap times, and also relatively comfortable because of this spring, what you call kind of double shock technology, where you get both comfort and race capabilities. Now the Ford Lobo, if we head over to Ford Authority, maybe we'll actually cover that next week when we've got hopefully more information on it. But the Ford Lobo, it's probably going to be possibly the opposite of a Tremor. Maybe it'll be lowered and kind of be sort of like an ST version, but for the F-150. I'm not willing yet to really say what I can I've got no educated speculation on this one, but I can say that no matter what, it's going to get people buying. Ford's doing the special editions because it brings in good revenue, and it excites people. It's nice to not just have the same, 4 colors, gray interior, 2003 Toyota Camrys. Every single one of them were boring. That was a mistake. This is not. So huge applause to Ford. But there's fender flares on this here, which is usually for off-road versions. But Ford Authority is talking about this thing being lowered, which makes me think it'll be more of a speedy version, but maybe the Lobo, maybe the Wolf, maybe this is going to be more of a desert driving edition. We'll have to wait and see, but we do know that Ford has trademarked the Lobo name, and it should very much be coming to us. It should have a portrait-oriented touchscreen, so think Ford Lightning Lariat style long screen, but that's offered even on new edges, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a high-end version. It could be something that falls between the XLT and the Lariat, as well as a Lariat and a Lariat Plus, the way a Tremor package does, but maybe more street race oriented, a speed truck version, but could very much look something like that. Lowered suspension, we could end up having a pretty fast F-150 on our hands without having to get, of course, the Lightning. So that's this week's show. Please make it into next week's Monday Night Live, where we'll do a build and price of the Ford Bronco. Check out our Ford Maverick videos, because we did cover some important Ford Maverick information in this video, but we did really talk about it more. I talked more about it at length while on site at the Ford dealership. So we got some important Ford Maverick information for you. Appreciate all your time for sticking with us throughout this live. Wish you all, well, I'll actually let you sign off.
Yeah, please like and subscribe before you go, and we wish you all more cars and more powers. Have a good night.
Take care, everyone, from the JCCR family here.